Hello, welcome to Hungary. This is the making of Robin Hood.
The world's got to a point where giving, certainly the world in the West has got to a point where giving and making people's lives better is part of our lives, and that's a good thing. And that's, you know, you can trace that back to Live Aid or Live 8 or you know, the famines in Africa and so forth and so. So you kind of go, okay, well, who's a model for that? Who's, you know, absolutely who gives to the poor? Robin Hood. So what's the fun in that? Well, he takes from the rich.
If you could assist us by removing all your jewellery and valuables and handing them to that man over there. Much? And then proceed to that room where you will all wait quietly until we've gone.
Do as he says.
Wise decision, Gizmo.
You know, it's kind of every generation, or every multiple generation, makes up their own Robin Hood, creates their own vision of it. So Errol Flynn is kind of gung-ho, in charge of the world, ready to free the people, stands for freedom, against tyranny, made in 1939 as America is a growing power and Nazi Germany is rising. You know, I mean, there's a kind of, every moment has its own call, and ours is about making the world a better place, broadly speaking, make poverty history.
Yeah.
Robin Hood, a bit like King Arthur, those sort of tales, they can be revisited many, many, many times. And perhaps their strength is that they can, even though they're ancient tales, they can be...
On Doc Martin, and as the project began to take shape, he seemed like the perfect author.
What we did was really good, but we didn't start writing for quite a long time, so we spent probably 4 weeks or 6 weeks just meeting, chatting, finding the parameters. Could we go, if we're going to do a modern Robin Hood, can we push it? Can we take it over here? Can we take it that way? And we investigated all those different possibilities and ended up with the notion that we've got, which is that we wanted to deliver what it says on the tin, absolutely Robin Hood, which is adventure, action, romance.
Come here!
And the extra bit, which is the modern bit and the contemporary resonance, was something that we would deliver in the sewing, in the weaving of the story, rather than playing around with the concept. So you know, by the time I got to pick up my pen, Foz, and you know, there were no surprises for Foz when I delivered my first draft, because it was something that actually we'd conceived really properly together.
Do you know why I went to war? To recover Jerusalem. To recover our Holy Land.
Oh, noble.
No. When I got there, I met the Muslims and the Jews, and I saw it was their Holy Land too.
What are you, Loxley, Lord of the Dance?
I think it's very easy when you start out making a show. It's very easy to say and know what you don't want, but it's not so easy to know what you do want. So along the way, you kind of say, I think so-and-so's good or so-and-so's good, and then do a screen test and go, no, hang on, we still want to make sure we... And you learn by doing the casting process, and I think that was very interesting for everyone involved, how, especially our Robin and our Marion and other characters, our understanding of what we wanted evolved as you started to screen test and do line readings with various actors. Even down to, you know, obviously the look of them, blonde, dark hair, but even down to the ages. What age should we go with? And we've sort of gone for a younger cast, saying that Robin is going to be aged around 25, 26.
That age worked for us because it's right on the cusp between man and boy. So here's someone who you could believe has been away and learnt a bit about life and come back, changed.
Rumours abound.
What rumours?
That you are weak, that you have returned weakened from your exertions in the Holy Land.
But on the other hand, when you need him to jump up, take action, go chasing a girlie, this is someone who would also do that jump backflip out a window, this is someone who's young enough and stupid enough and brave enough and thrill-seeking enough to do all of that stuff. But then this is the thoughtful moment. This is the bit where Robin Hood's really about something, and we want to investigate actually quite a sophisticated political position here, and we've got a guy who can do that as well.
You take from those worse off than yourselves, and then you leave them to die.
All right, you've made your point.
You are not Englishmen. You are not the England we fought for. Men who think it is a boast to be dead. What do you think you're doing, robbing him, when the sheriff over there is robbing us all 20 times over? I knew that the project was going on. I've got a mate who, a mate of mine is an actor, good friend of his who, he's kind of mate of mine. He works at Tiger Aspect, and I went to meet a few of them in a pub one day, this is months ago, and they were on about Robin Hood. And they said, Tiger Aspect are making a version of Robin Hood for the BBC, a 13-parter. And we were saying, Jonas, we're just thinking about who do you reckon they're going to get to play us? Yeah. I don't know. And then they were just throwing names around and everything. Quietly, I was sitting there like that, just thinking, geez, it would be nice to get an audition for it, and then, lo and behold, you go and do it. But didn't think I'd even get an audition for the part. If I'm honest with you, and when I did get told I had a meeting for it, I said to my agent, I said, great. I said, what's the part? And she said, Robin Hood, and and it went from there,
And Michelle Guiche, our casting director, and Foz Allen at Tiger Aspect, and Dominic Minghella, as well as myself, started to meet an awful lot of people. Oh my gosh. I mean, the lists would have gone into 50s, 60s and beyond, and meetings would have been pretty high, I can assure you. A lot of talent was scoured.
Master! I read the first script when I had my first audition, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny and had a nice balance between being a kind of serious, being serious and having a kind of lighter aspect. But it's got a backbone to it, which is good, a kind of reality to it, which is excellent.
When as soon as you heard about the audition for it, you thought, hell yeah! I mean, that's every boy's kind of dream. I mean, to get a nice part, a nice production, but also that might involve everything that Robin Hood involves. That's kind of ideal, surely, for any bloke, really.
I got a phone call from my agent telling me that I had an audition for the part, and kind of every audition I get, I'm interested. And then it was when I read the script was when I thought, oh, I really want to do this. It was really funny. I read the first episode, and after a couple of auditions, they gave me the second episode to read. And it's one of those things where the more you read it, the more you kind of get the jokes and you get the characters, and it gets funnier every time you read it. And that's when and when they said, how long they were filming it for, and the fact that they wanted the show to be quite modern, and that was when I really started thinking, oh, please give me this. This would be great. And it's not disappointing at all. It's kind of how I expected it would be.
We explored a whole range of potential production partners. We went to Ireland, we had a look in Romania, in Bulgaria, Latvia. What we were looking for was cost-effective use of our money. Robin Hood, on the scale that we'd imagined, it was epic, really, for television. So we needed a castle with dungeons and turrets and the whole kit and caboodle. We needed Nottingham Town, an active market where people live and all that. We needed Loxley, a village, and then all the other villages that Robin is responsible for, and of course Sherwood Forest. Finding that space was astonishingly difficult, and Hungary is absolutely the nearest we've been able to get to it.
You've got, all of Nottingham, the village. It's amazing. It was really impressive, and it really helps your character. And there's very little interior. 60% of the show is exterior, so it's great. Really helps.
Hungary is great working. Yeah, it's pretty strange. I've never worked abroad before, so it's less Hungary being strange. It's just the whole concept of living here, and when you go home for a weekend, that's a holiday, and going home for a holiday feels strange.
It's going to sound like a cliche, but it is just a beautiful city. It's like, I've never been to Prague, but people who have been to both say it's kind of like Prague. On every corner there's a building which, if it was in London, it would be on a postcard, and it's just like a supermarket or something. And that really, and when the sun comes out, it's it just lifts your spirit. So, I mean, I have, because most of my scenes are one-on-one with somebody else or two other people, I have quite a lot of time off, and being in Budapest has made a massive difference in terms of my boredom level. The people are all very friendly, and most people have got at least a small grasp of English, which obviously helps because none of us can speak any Hungarian at all.
In the first week, I ended up chatting to quite a heavy smoker, so I ended up picking a lot of smoking vocabulary up. Do you want an example of that?
Absolutely.
I bet you do. It's, for example, Von homotorto it. Is there an ashtray here? Ejun duito kirek. Can I have a lighter?
I can say I have 62 goats for sale. Von hot von kid catch came elado. So that's my Hungarian.
In the time that we have to make 13 episodes, and our filming time was very much wedged between when the snow would disappear in Hungary and when the BBC wanted to transmit. And within that window, we're filming non-stop.
Action! 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 And action!
That's good! That's good! That's good!
The way films, programmes are made has changed massively since the last TV Robin Hood of the mid-80s. Very much reflected in computer games and blockbuster features, so on. So in the way that we composed the show, it'll have a more modern feel. And then I think in some of the resonance of the situations and the storylines, they have a surprising resonance for our political situation these days.
It's probably quite a good time to be doing something like Robin Hood, because there's a lot of, you know, for the Sheriff of Nottingham, the Sheriff's men, there's sort of imperial, you know, totalitarian forces, and they're everywhere around the world at the moment, you know. And it's up to people to draw their own conclusions about who they think is what. But the metaphor of you know, good versus evil, too much power corrupting, you know, people fighting for a belief rather than just for altruistic motives rather than just financial gain, is a strong one, and that's probably why the legend has survived, because it's a good story.
I read episode, I think it's in episode 3 actually, when Gisborne's making a speech to the villagers and talking about Robin Hood and his plan of terror.
Today, we walk among you to show that life goes on. We will not hide or cower in the face of outlaws. We will not change our lives to suit their campaigns of terror.
And you think, okay, and you see where this is going, and all about understanding. There's quite a large emphasis on Robin having come from the Holy Land directly.
Your Majesty!
We're working with the stuntmen quite closely, so there's not a separation between the two things, because they're actually very similar. One's a bit more dangerous than the other. But yeah, that's the best thing that we've got on with them, and so when we come to do fights, we know, because we've all had a scrap with them at some point. And yeah, it's good fun.
Action!
We've got great stunt people here as well, which the stuff we can't do. Then they go and help us out with that. But all the guys are not ones to kind of think, oh no, we can't do that. Right? Well, let us do it. Let us do it. Well, no, you can't, because you might risk injury. And we are getting a few bangs and a few bruises, but that's what happens with the nature of the show. And no, it's great. It's a big boys' playground, isn't it?
Action!
I've like fallen over about it's like 12 times or something. I just can't run in a wood without going down. I just hate running in the forest, which I think is very much, but it's just, I don't know, I just don't get on with uneven ground.
I think it's fair to say that we've all had stunt mishaps. There are an enormous amount of stunts on this job, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, not always the ability to make them entirely safe. It's just not always possible. Dislocated a couple of fingers, and my hand actually at the moment is entirely seized up, but I'm sure we can shoot round that. A few bumps on the head, a few, bruised necks every now and then, but it goes for everybody.
The stunts are like all stunts. I mean, it's very, very time consuming. You need a lot of shots, and they just take a lot of time. And so, in a sense, for every stunt, you really lose time elsewhere. You've got to kind of balance it up.
So cameras down. I've got it for continuity for the stunt guys. They want to do the first shot first in terms of the weight cuts, okay?
So the challenge really is one of time. It's easy to shoot, actually, in many ways, but it is very time consuming.
Okay, Bella, we'll bring the cameras down there, put your mattresses in, and we'll do it that way round.
D-mark.
Action for you.
An amazing bunch of guys. I mean, it's headed up by Beck, who is massive stunt coordinator, who happens to be Hungarian, which is brilliant. And he comes with his team of horses and stunt men and stunt women and weapons and archery, and everyone just seems to be fairly trained up in everything that's thrown at them. There's no, I mean, there are people who are better at some things than other things, but they all just seem to specialise in everything that's required, and they're universally. They make it look horribly effortless, which I guess is the point of a stuntman. And we always stand there going, oh, I could do that. And as soon as you actually get to the point, you realise you absolutely...
I mean, the character is that if you're not too careful, he can be a goody-goody. And I remember back to other Robin Hoods of screen where the Sheriff of Nottingham has dominated everything because he gets the best lines, the baddies always do, he gets the best costumes, and he gets the wit and the excitement. And if you're not careful, I think Robin can be a bit wet and a bit goody-goody-ish. And with Jonas, we've got a young man who brings with it other dimensions to it. And we have a Robin who, not only being good-looking, but is also can play for us the rogue, the Jack the lad. And so you get that other dimension to the character at the same time.
There's the whole thing with women, that's supposed to be his only kind of weakness, is that if there's a beautiful woman in the room, then he has to try and do something about it. So that's really fun to play because he just can't help himself.
Join us with our strategies and your remarkable talent. It would be so different. Forget the others, just you and me.
What's he doing? Now you see what I have to put up with.
And there's a really cheeky side to him, which is great to play because you have got one side which is this kind of warrior, or fighter, and on the other hand there's this kind of guy who can turn on the charm and, give it a bit of that.
It's difficult. I didn't read with Jonas before we actually got here. And to be honest, for the first few scenes, I was still kind of getting over the nerves of having a camera on me and, not really knowing anyone very well. And I couldn't actually really tell whether there was chemistry or there wasn't. And then we were told that there was, and there were quite a few sparks, and it looked really good.
Marion, wait. Now is not the time, I know. I must say you are, more than ever, your eyes. And even when you look at me in anger. Rehearsing those few scenes in the week prior to starting filming, there was something really great, and there was the chemistry, because there has to be that between the two kind of lovers, or hope to be lovers in this series. So no, she's great to work.
Being the Sheriff of Nottingham is the top of the world. It's a fantastic place to be and all that. Here we've got a man who's just using this as a stepping stone.
Stay.
Jose Mourinho. It's absolutely serious.
No. You shot the deputy.
So this is Mourinho going, well, Chelsea's great, but next year I want to do Juventus, and then I want to do Portugal, and then I'm going to win the World Cup. And then I'll think about, you know, he kind of is non-stop. He's smart, he's sassy, he's an absolute control freak.
He's great. He's really good to kind of to bounce off and everything. So he has a great thing where he says that he thinks that the Sheriff secretly fancies Robin, which is quite fun.
Oh, come along, Robin. That's just pillow talk, isn't it?
The cricket is rapidly becoming a tradition. When we first started filming, they would they get very bored and they would put a large metal bucket in the middle of the car park and just throw stones at it, and we thought that's not going to last for long, so we bought some ball and some nice tame board games, thinking that would keep the insurers happy. And then pretty quickly the golf set came out and the cricket set came out, and now they're planning to take on the British Embassy at a match.
In my past I was a PE teacher, so I've sort of taken that role as being the games master. So I've brought out golf clubs and cricket bats and stuff, and basically just get really, really aggressive at sports. It's what I do. I think the others just try and play it, but I just try and score points all the time against them. They're all much younger than me, so they bully me. And they talk in a funny language. 25-year-old people these days, I don't know what they're saying most of the time. No, they're fine. They've been very nice. They help me across the road and make sure I'm tucked into my bed at night. All that sort of stuff that's very important for a man of my age.
The guys, yeah, we've got to the stage now where we're just always kind of ripping each other, and there's a lot of kind of banter going on, which is great.
Most people, and I think it's quite important when they cast a thing, they try and cast people that are at least show the ability to kind of get on with other people, and I think that's quite important, because we're out here for 6 months, so you know, you do need to make a bit of an effort, and to start with, they are basically your mates, and you know, and hopefully that comes across on screen, because I think it's, I mean, I've been involved in a couple of shows that have been very much sort of team shows, and the more that the cast bond, the more it's not something you can direct or write actually, but the more that they do bond, the more you kind of feel that, and I think it's really important in this one that you do feel that, and obviously that we all, you know, hate Keith Allen and Richard Armitage, which we do. It's very lucky.
Lucy, who's playing Marion, is only to be admired. She's dealt with it all remarkably well. It's kind of become an honorary boy, if I could be so bold as to present her with that dubious honour.
They're protective and they've kind of taken me under their wing, but they don't baby me or anything like that, so it's perfect really. And there are other there are guest parts. There are girls who come out every few weeks, so every few weeks I've got like a toy to play with and a token girl to come and shopping with me and stuff like that, so it's fine. It's fine. I don't feel like the odd one out at all.
I mean, as we've been making the show, there are 3 words that keep coming up, and they are fun, pace and energy. And I think as people gather on a Saturday night to watch it, I would love it if families could come together. Mums, dads, kids, aunties, grannies, the whole lot come together, and that each person, each generation almost, can take something away from it. There's fun, there's action, there's adventure, there's something for the mums, there's something for the dads, there's a bit of political resonance. And what I would love is if in years to come, kids that are growing up now and watching the show will remember this Robin Hood as the one for their generation, in the same way as I will remember, you know, or do remember the ones from previous generations as being the Robin Hood as I grew up.
It's a sort of television that's not very much made of these days, because it's all action and jumping around, and that's fantastic, you know. So there should be enough in it for everyone. And you know, Robin Hood is such a sort of fantastic kind of legend and such a great trademark in a sense that should bring people to it. I mean, the job is just to make sure we fulfil their expectations.
there's everything you expect. There's the fight sequences, the horses, the forest, the bad guys.
Bad guys are great. I think the
bad guys are brilliant.
That's you know.
Okay, the bad guys.
The bad guys.
We can give you the intellectual answer, or we can just say the bad guys.
So the bad guys is the romance. It's, you know, it's Dom's right. It is all the bits that make up the show. Feeling that it's for now.
It's just going to be a great show. It's just going to be a great show, and there's nothing to beat the feeling of doing a job the kind of which you would have watched as a kid. I mean, how great is that?